Good morning. Welcome to Sunday worship from the First UU Society of Burlington, Vermont, on land which has served as a site of meeting and exchange among Indigenous peoples for thousands of years and is the home of the Western Abenaki people. I acknowledge that we are guests on this land and we need to respect and help protect the lands and waters within our use. Today is March 21st, 2021, and I am Cheryl Herrick, a member of the Worship Associates team. Today's service was supported and created by a large group of people that includes Mary Williams, musicians Sam Whitesell and James Stewart, Director of Lifespan Faith Development Erika Reif, Music Director and Video Editor James Stewart, with Videography by Peter Newport and Flowers by Claire Graham Smith. As a Unitarian Universalist faith community in the heart of Burlington, Vermont, we warmly welcome all people to the shared work of building beloved community and making meaning in our lives. We want to offer a special welcome to those who may be visiting us for the first or second time, and also to those who have been in virtual attendance these many months. Greetings too to those coming in from across the country and around the world to join in today. Wherever you are, however newly you have joined us, please be welcome. It is good to gather together. Following the service, please feel free to join in the virtual coffee hour to visit with others and to talk about what came alive for you in our time together. And if you'd like information about ways to be involved, about upcoming services, events, and opportunities, or anything else in the Society, please visit uusociety.org, our YouTube channel, or our Facebook page. Though we may not be able to gather in person in all the ways we may be accustomed to, there are still many ways to connect and to be involved.
Say the words with me as we light our chalice. We light this chalice to remind ourselves of the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment. Today's opening words are from the remarkable Mary Oliver, her poem, Wild Geese. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles in the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over announcing your place in the family of things.
It's been a whole year since we've been able to gather together in our meeting house. And while it may not be safe for humans to meet in person, our stuffed friends can't catch COVID-19.
So we invited you to send your stuffies and lovies for a fun-filled weekend at First UU. And what a weekend they had. You dropped off your stuffies in cozy baskets where they could rest up for the big event. Meanwhile, our dedicated chaperones, Yoti, Lix, and chaperone in training and youth group mascot Elliot, poured over the information you gave us. There were food sensitivities, favorite activities, and a variety of special requests, all to be considered in planning the events.
We woke everyone up from their baskets and headed down to the Barnum room for our first circle together. The stuffies learned about lighting a chalice, decided on a covenant for their time together, and shared their joys and sorrows. I feel joy to make all these new friends, but I'm a little bit nervous to be away from my home and my family, said Brown Bear.
After the circle, it was time for the first of our special guests. Sam came by to play the piano. This was like having a private concert, a special treat because we all know how wonderful it is to be in the room with Sam when he's playing. After he practiced his pieces for Sunday, the stuffies had some requests from the hymnal. So Sam played and they all sung songs together. I really wish I could have been there, but only one human at a time.
It turns out Russell Wilson loves to cook, so he made everyone spaghetti for dinner and gave some friends a cooking lesson. There was delicious homemade sauce, but Elliot preferred it plain. Tags and Rally Cats stepped up to tackle the dishes.
After dinner was playtime. The treehouse in the Jordan Latimer room was a big hit with these friends. Russells and Sparkles chose to color in the nursery, and others played board games in the community room.
New friendships were forming already. Winter the wolf bonded with Giraffe after learning that she had a live dog named Winter at home. What a coincidence! Roasting stuffy-sized marshmallows over a candle, Marshmallow the dog was so happy to have her favorite food and to be with her new friends.
Time for bed. The stuffies snuggled in on pew cushions on the chancel, safe and warm. Patterns had a rough time settling in. He missed home. But once Yodi helped him get out his special pillow and sleeping bag from the suitcase his family sent with him, he felt much better. Yodi sat up and kept watch as the little stuffies fell asleep.
On Saturday morning, everyone was ready for some action, so they headed upstairs where friends played the keyboard as others danced around. Periwinkle started her famous high-in-the-sky front flips. Patterns and Elliot had a roaring contest, and Brown Bear did some jumping from the back of a tall chair. But all that noise didn't stop Thune from catching a quick nap. Babies get sleepy.
Now that everyone had gotten their wiggles out, they went to the sanctuary to meet an important visitor, Reverend Tricia. The stuffies got to hear her record her sermon, and there was even time for some discussion. Some stuffies had heard from their owners about the song we sing when the children leave the sanctuary for their classes on Sunday mornings. So Reverend Tricia was kind enough to sing "Go Now in Peace" for them as they headed down the stairs and into the parlors for a tea party. Many of them had been looking forward to drinking tea with honey on the old-fashioned furniture. "These couches sure are fancy," said Giraffe.
Next up, friends were ready for some fresh air. Ninja ran ahead saying, Let's climb a tree! And friends eagerly followed. Russell Wilson didn't have a football with him, so he settled for throwing sticks for licks and marshmallow to fetch. A lot of friends enjoyed just sitting in the stone circle and soaking up some sun.
Snack time! Friends circled round to eat together. Yay, popcorn, said Gandalf. Carrots are my favorite, said Lime the bunny. I like apples because they are sweet and sour, said Monkey. Snacks were delicious and also messy, but cleanup is easy when you work together. These friends love to help out.
Finally, some time to hang out in the library. Stuffies enjoyed reading with their friends on the cushions and were excited to check out books to bring home. The chaperones had prepared a special team-building challenge for the young Stuffies. That's some impressive climbing. What an accomplishment for this group of new friends.
The Purple Lovers Club gathered together to craft with their favorite color pipe cleaners, and then pizza for dinner. Yippee! After dinner, Elliot led them in one of our youth group's favorite games, Sardines, where everyone has to squish together in the same hiding place. Yodi was the last one searching, but eventually he found them.
Time for bed again. Elliot wanted to stay up late and tell scary stories, but Yodi and Lix reminded them that little Stuffies need their rest. In the morning, everyone packed up their beds because their time together was coming to a close.
After a breakfast of pancakes and a few shenanigans, everyone posed together on the new ramp to the meeting house for an outdoor group portrait. It was sad to say goodbye to new friends and the meeting house grand adventure, but they were all looking forward to seeing their families again soon. The chaperones tucked them into baskets so they could hibernate until their families came to take them home.
What joy and color those Stuffies brought to our meeting house. I hope that all of you, not just the children who sent them, have experienced some vicarious pleasure watching them have adventures in this place that we all hold so dear.
Now let us deepen together into a time of meditation. Let's begin our meditation by sharing the joys and sorrows of our community. Then we'll hold a brief time for silence. So now, let us take a deep breath together in spirit, breathing in the breath of life, breathing out the breath of peace. And come now into the place of holy listening. Let us hear these words of joy and sorrow for this day, Sunday, March 21st, 2021. From Kathleen Kemp. Joy for the opportunity to visit with my dad, Richard Kemp, in person recently. His sense of humor is intact, and yes, he voted. My eldest sister in England has been admitted to the hospital for the 7th time since the pandemic hit. As my own vaccination draws near, I hope that I will be able to visit her later this year. Joy for my sister in recovery from food addiction. She's working so hard, and our family is so grateful for the virtual community she has found. Sorrow for a friend who lost her brother suddenly. May her family find comfort. May the joys and sorrows of each be the joys and sorrows of all, reminding us of our shared humanity. Now, as we enter the silence, let us hold that which has been spoken and that which remains unspoken in our hearts. Amen, and blessed be.
For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift that we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad. For needs which others serve, for services we give, for work and its rewards, for hours of rest and love, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for sorrow we must bear, for failures, pain, and loss, for each new thing we learn, for fearful hours that pass, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift that we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad.
Kindness by Naomi Shihab Nye, Youth Poet Laureate of the United States. Before you know what kindness really is, you must lose things. Feel the future dissolve in a moment, like salt in a weakened broth. What you held in your hands, what you counted and carefully saved, all this must go so you can know how desolate the landscape can be between the regions of kindness. How you ride and ride, thinking the bus will never stop. The passengers eating maize and chicken will stare out the window forever. Before you learn the tender gravity of kindness, you must travel where the Indian in a white poncho lies dead by the side of the road. You must see how this could be you, how he too was someone who journeyed through the night with plans and the simple breath that kept him alive. Before you know kindness as the deepest thing inside, you must know sorrow as the other deepest thing. You must wake up with sorrow. You must speak to it till your voice catches the thread of all sorrows, and you see the size of the cloth. Then it is only kindness that makes sense anymore, only kindness that ties your shoes and sends you out into the day to gaze at bread, only kindness that raises its head from the crowd of the world to say, "It is I you have been looking for," and then goes with you everywhere, like a shadow or a friend.
You are generous people. I know that because every week during this whole year that we've been pre-recording services, we've asked you to contribute, and you have. Remarkable amounts of generosity, and in the next few weeks I'm going to give you a little bit more precise information on how much money has gone to organizations in the community that are doing the work that our principals tell us is essential. It's a wonderful thing. Today's beneficiary that we're sharing the offering with is, once again, as it is for this whole month of March, CASN, the Chittenden Asylum Seekers Assistance Network, which is a wonderful local organization that was founded by some members here at First UU and other people in the community. They advocate for asylum seekers and also provide some material support during the weeks and months that it takes for them to become more independent in every way. So your gift today will make a difference in the lives of asylum seekers in Vermont. It's a pretty wonderful thing. Your generous gifts to this morning's offering will now be most gratefully received.
With gratitude, we dedicate these gifts to the service of our mission, to inspire spiritual growth, to care for each other and for our community, to seek truth, and to act for justice.
When I think about what I want to preach to you about, I don't plan far ahead. You may have figured that out already. I know the worship associates have, and Sam and James and Mary, who sometimes gently reminds me that she still needs something to put in the e-news about an upcoming service. I would like to insert a note of my continuing gratitude here for the unfailing goodwill and skill and devotion of all of the people at your First Unitarian Universalist Society who make worship happen every week. Your staff, you have reason to be proud and grateful to them too. My late deciding is not because I don't like planning worship, I love it, or because I like procrastinating, which I don't really like at all. It's because, to me, worship, attending to that which is of worth, must be connected to life. What's happening now in your life and my life, in our neighbors' lives, and the lives of other human beings who live near and very far away. What is most worthy? It includes love and grief and hope and anger at injustice. It includes attending to how change happens really. We say we want the world to change. How does that actually happen? It includes the power of communities to care for people, to create goodness in the world. And it includes everything that's really difficult and disappointing about communities too, sometimes. Radical welcome is of worth and joy. I don't know about you, but that entire stuffy sleepover video is just more than a little bit of joy, very welcome in my life. All of this is worthy of our attending and so much more, but not in the abstract, filtered through life, which is how we really learn and grow. I don't really know how to separate worship from the world. This is what Ralph Waldo Emerson taught, what got him in trouble for teaching a century and a half ago. What we pay attention to in here, he said, must be part of what's going on out there. Which makes me glad that your ancestors here at the UU Society, well, the Unitarian Society at that point, decided that stained glass windows might be pretty, but they were too expensive, and they replaced them with plain glass windows some decades ago. I'm glad. I'm glad. It's good to be able to see the world. The world has been very much with us this past year, and with us in worship, in this year of pandemic marked by fear and sickness and death and grief and misinformation, which we might just call lying. In this year of anger and violence, this 12 months, which included the murder of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery and so many other Black people. This year of lying and insurrection, of not knowing who or what to believe. These last 4 years marked by fear and corruption and racism and lying. And all of this, of course, on top of decades of fear and frustration from, among other things, the existential danger from climate change and terrorism and war. The oppression of lesbian, gay, queer, and transgender people, transgender children. All of that is with us. And it seems to me like we've been waiting for weeks and months and years maybe. We've been waiting to take a breath. Now? Can we do it now? Good things are happening. And they're happening out loud and in the news. The vaccines. Not everywhere, not everyone, but more and more and more people every day, every week. And public policies that actually help people who need help. And talented and committed and truth-telling people who are coming into the government, like Deb Haaland, who the first Indigenous Native person who has been in the government at all at a secretary level, and she's Secretary of the Interior now. And Marcia Fudge, the new Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. Peter and I really loved being close to Marcia Fudge's district when we lived in Ohio. Did you see her this week? Did you happen to catch her press conference at the White House? Among many other things, she let us know that in the American Rescue Act, among the tens of billions of dollars that HUD has access to, $5 billion have been designated solely to deal with issues of the homeless. That's never happened before. Maybe this week we could take a break. We could take a breath. We could celebrate some of what is good in the world and even in our country. And then And then there was another mass shooting, this time in Atlanta. 8 people died. 6 of them Asian women. It's been called by one of the local Georgia activists as a misogynistic attack on women and a racist attack on Asians. Not one or the other, both. And people are arguing about what this is and what it means or doesn't mean to the people who are most at risk. Once again, fear, violence, lying, tornadoes. Did you know that homelessness rose for the 4th year in a row in 2020? I'm sure you do know about the thousands of people at the border. Thousands of people, refugees, immigrants, Central Americans fleeing desperate conditions that most of us have never seen, much less had to deal with. We can describe them any way we want, but they're people. Women and men and children. Almost 10,000 children unaccompanied by parents. Most of those are in their teens, but hundreds are under the age of 12. How shall we attend to all of this and to our exhausted, worried, lonely, trying to do the right thing selves? How can we act on our principles, our commitments? How can we hang on to hope while staying clear-eyed about everything that is around us? Should we take a breath, or is it not time yet? Thinking about all of this, I was uncertain about what to preach about today. So I talked to Cheryl, and she and I talked about it, and she told me that she had heard part of Krista Tippett's interview this week with the poet Naomi Shihab Nye. It turns out that it was a replay, mostly of their 2016 interview, in which they talked about poetry and writing things down. They talked, too, about her poem, Kindness, which Cheryl read earlier. I encountered this poem some years ago, and it caught my attention. I thought perhaps I knew what she was talking about without fully understanding it. Before you know what kindness really is, you must lose things. Feel the future dissolve in a moment like salt in a weakened broth. What you held in your hand, what you counted and carefully saved, all this must go, so you know how desolate the landscape can be between the regions of kindness. In this On Being interview, Shihab Nye told the story behind the poem. Of all her poems, she said, this one was just given to her. I was simply the secretary, she said. My husband and I were on our honeymoon, she told this story. We had just gotten married 1 week before and had this plan to travel in South America for 3 months. At the end of our first week on a bus ride, we were robbed of everything. And someone else who was on the bus with us was killed. He's the Indian in the poem. It was quite a shakeup of an experience. And afterward, we had nothing. We had no passports, we had no money, and no idea what we should do first. Where do we go? Who do we talk to? A man came up to us on the street and was simply kind. He just looked at us. I guess he could see our disarray in our faces and asked us in Spanish, "What happened to you?" We tried to tell him, she said, and he listened to us, and he looked so sad. And he said, "I'm very sorry. I'm very, very sorry that happened to you." And then he went on. We walked to this little plaza and I sat down and all I had was the notebook in my back pocket and a pencil. And this voice came across the plaza and spoke this poem to me, spoke it, and I wrote it down. Before you know kindness as the deepest thing inside, you must know sorrow as the other deepest thing. You must wake up with sorrow. You must speak to it till your voice catches the threads of all sorrows and you see the size of the cloth. Then it is only kindness that makes sense anymore. Only kindness that raises its head from the crowd of the world to say, it is I you have been looking for. And then goes with you everywhere, like a shadow or a friend. Take a breath. You. We, all of us, can take a breath. There are prophets all around us, and some of them, thank God, are poets who tell us what we must attend to, remind us how to listen and watch and pay attention and even write things down. Poets learn and remember what happens most and tell the rest of us when we will listen. Krista Tippett says in this interview that Mary Oliver told her once that the most remarkable poem, Wild Geese, that I read at the beginning of the service also came to her almost fully formed. You've heard it before. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Mary Oliver understood that her purpose was to stop and write things down. So what do you hear? What do you see? Can you write it down? Who do you see? Who might you attend to? Perhaps saying with kindness, I'm very sorry. I'm very, very sorry that happened to you. So that they will know that you mean it and take you into their day with them and never forget. Whoever you are, Mary Oliver says, no matter how lonely the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over announcing your place in the family of things. What is your place in the family of things? Are you living there fully, growing into your good self in kindness and love and truth? So may it be. So may it blessed be.
Though days be dark with storms and burdens weigh my heart, though troubles wait at every turn, I know I can go on. When sorrow yields my soul
We extinguish this chalice flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and share with the world until we are together again. The benediction today is from Reverend Kathleen McTeague. May the light around us guide our footsteps and hold us fast to the best and most righteous that we seek. May the darkness around us nurture our dreams and give us rest so that we may give ourselves to the work of the world. Let us seek to remember the wholeness of our lives, the weaving of light and shadow in this great and astonishing dance in which we move. Go in peace.